Hey friends. I had an experience this morning. I was taking a photo for the thumbnail for a post. And I observed how my inner state reflects in the photo impression that is taken of me. And I saw something that was actually kind of surprising because you know, when we are having a picture taken of us, when we are consciously burning our impression into a camera, into a lens, which at this point in history is like we're so used to this. It's like happens all the time, every day. It's almost like we've created a whole virtual world where our likeness it passes for the real me, for the real us. And so there's an awareness of, okay, I am now being seen. It's a moment of decision and of kind of conscious being seenness, offering ourselves to be seen. And this morning, I was taking a photo and I gave myself I did a little experiment. I was like, all right, well, let's just see what happens if I just sit totally present and still versus like actively somehow going for a particular kind of image. And so I tried that, and the photo that resulted was like this. It was like just if it looked like when I saw the photo later, I was like, whoa. It looks like my consciousness has fallen into my body and is like falling back out of the world. And I want to be clear, I don't think that I necessarily was being present. Like when I say I was being present, I don't think that that's necessarily what was really coming through in that image. But what struck me was I was not offering anything. My awareness, the direction of my energy was not projecting outwards with any intention in that photo. And therefore, that's what it looks like. That's what the image that's how the image appears. And whereas other photos where I might be like, I don't know, trying to do something, trying to like project joy or somehow like create a connection with somebody who might see the photo, that's what projects. That's what those photos look like. And it's like, as somebody who's consistently working with and reflecting on the nature of consciousness, of meditative consciousness, of presence, that's an interesting thing to observe, because what's all that work really ultimately about? It's really ultimately about how engaged we are, those who do this work, but I'm speaking for myself. How engaged am I in the world? How fully, how much am I living at full throttle? And how much am I kind of just moving through life because time keeps moving? So it's like kind of like time's like a broom. It's just sweeping me along. And there's a real, this is something that I reflect on this a lot, and I kind of wonder about it a lot. Like there's a kind of, with spiritual work and inner work, by definition, there's an interior focus. There's a sense of what's happening in me. How much of my own inner life am I in control of? How much of my own inner life is completely out of my control? How much of my inner life is my mind just running, or is just kind of being compulsively maintained? But what strikes me, this photo experiment is kind of a very like simple encapsulation of this lesson. But what strikes me is the degree to which I extend myself in the exterior, in the outside world, not put my focus in my interior, but actually put it in the exterior. That's the degree to which I will be truly engaged in the world. And that doesn't mean don't ever have an interior focus, or don't ever like cultivate an awareness of what's going on inside of us. But I think for those of us with a proclivity towards that type of focus, introspection, consciousness work, there is a helpful lesson to be learned when we realize, in ultimate non-dual realization, all the mystics tell us the interior is the exterior. There is no separation between our interior and our exterior. Now, we can't just pretend to have realized that. That won't do us any good. It won't, if I'm like having a horrible day and I'm pissed off at somebody, and I think to myself, well, this is actually in my interior, like that person's actually in my interior, everything's actually, the exterior is the interior. That's not going to necessarily alleviate the fact that I'm struggling in the exterior. And there may actually be a sort of benefit to putting my attention on the perceived interior so that I can work with my own biology, my own psychology, my own emotions, and be more self-aware. But the fact is that at the end of the day, what's happening in our exterior is a reflection of what's happening in our interior. And to truly acknowledge that, to truly accept that, even if we're not in a moment of like mystical satori where we're actually feeling that experience, where it's like I see this pen on my bookcase over there, but I see no separation between myself and the pen. I am the pen. No, like right now, the pen's over there and I'm over here. That's my perception. It's probably erroneous. If I take the great mystic's words for it, that's an illusion. But that's where I am. That's what my daily. That's what my state is right now. And that may be the case for most of the time, right? But that doesn't mean we can't accept that it's the case that the exterior is the interior, and therefore engaging with it as fully and as uncompromisingly, as sort of like uninhibitedly as possible is gonna create movement in our interior in a way that we might not even know needs to happen. Thank God we have an exterior. We have a universe that is outside of ourselves, outside of our mind, so that we can bump up against things that mold our perspective. This is one of the great blessings of being an incarnate being. Many of the great teachers that I've either heard speak or read talk about when we pass away, there's an entity that remains, our soul, right? There's an entity of consciousness that remains, but our mind, but it's all contained within our mind. There's no embodiment. It's a spirit form of energy. So the moment I think something, it happens. Thought is action. Because the energy exists on that plane, and there's no body for it to inhabit and to slow down the process of a mind having a thought and manifesting that thought. Our bodies and being in the world, being in this material world, slows that down. So we have time to have a thought, the mind starts to manifest it, and we get to go, do I really want to manifest that? Had I even really considered like where that would take me? Where that's going? What's the end game of that? So what sometimes seems like the thick, heavy, inertia-laden clay of material existence is actually this phenomenal blessing, because it's a condition in which our mind can learn its own content in a way that gives us a chance, gives us time. We can spread our thoughts out and the content of our psyche out over time. And if we want to make any changes, if there are things we want to transform, if we want to bring that into a deeper alignment with ultimate reality, we can do that. Whereas on the plane of thought, our mind is it. That's it. Our mind is the thoughts that I have, the interior of my psyche is all there is. And I guess what this is teaching me is that there's a sense of gratitude for the frustrations of this plane, of this life. It's so, from the point of view of like a human ego, our frustrations are like, ugh, I want to get through this, I want to get past it, I want to get beyond it, I want to outgrow it, I want to transcend it, I want to, whatever language I use to talk about being somewhere else. But at the end of the day, the fact that things are slow enough on this plane. The fact that things don't move just because I think about them, because I think of them. There's a massive opportunity there. There's a huge, I mean, a completely priceless, just unbelievably valuable opportunity there. And if we know how to really perceive what's happening, and we're not trapped in the kind of human ego, psychological ego zone of just wishing things would happen faster. So from taking a selfie to an insight about being gratitude for incarnation, I need to go back and watch my own video, see how I got there. But that's where I am today. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you. Have a great day. I'll see you soon.